All right, everybody, this will be warning to all politicians. I am running for President 2024, Part 84B, we'll call it. So have some extra time here because for some reason, sales and dispatch can't get their ducks in a row for whatever reasons with getting me a load out of here. So while I'm waiting for them to sort everything out, go over a couple things here. I was talking about like some of the social systems we have in place, school, social security, medical, this and that. Yes, we can make things better, but to have something thrown in all our laps and say, accept this or not, whether you like it or not, and to be lied to, tell, your premiums aren't going up, you can still choose your doctors, whatever, etc. It can't be done like that. And it was horseshit that it was ever allowed to be done like that. And then you do have the ethical questions, well, if somebody's 80 years old or something, needs a kidney transplant or a heart or whatever like that, it's going to cost hundreds of thousands of dollars, and what's it going to do? Give them another 6 months of life? Would they even survive the surgery? You have all these types of questions. Now, I know I'd like to say most, but, I don't know. I like to think many Americans are like me, who are charitable at heart, who don't want to see people suffer, who have given, to people on the street corners and stuff. I mean, for years, going into truck stops, I'd see somebody holding up a sign, we'll work for food, whatever, and all that. And, I'd buy them a sandwich and, a bottle of water and stuff, and maybe put a couple bucks in the bag and hand it to them when I left the truck stop. For those of you who don't know about this business, at times, every single truck stop you pull into, there'd be numerous people passing through panhandling. You're constantly asked. And then, in the cities and stuff, if you're on any of the freeways in New York City, there's constantly people out walking through the traffic, holding up signs, trying to get money and stuff. So the thing is, everybody should pay into the system. And I know not everybody can pay great amounts of money into a system that they for whatever reason, they've screwed up their lives, or they just don't give a damn about anything, and would rather live on the street, etc., whatever, be homeless. I don't know. Does it take tough love to say, well, if that's what you choose, then guess what? When you need to go to the doctor or whatever, no one's going to help you. What do you do in these situations? So no, as a society, we're not going to leave people to die just because they're homeless, beggars or whatever like that. We all know the story of the Good Samaritan from the Bible. There are things that happen to people that are out of their control. Bad things do happen to good people. And, as a society, as human beings, we should care for our fellow human beings to a certain degree. And then there is also a certain degree where you gotta say, hey, you know what? You need to take some responsibility for yourselves. So with a medical deal, and like any other social programs, there are people who have never paid $1 in taxes, who have lived off of welfare and food stamps and other social programs, people who've just come into this country living off, and they're here illegally living off of social programs, who've never paid into the system, and they're getting benefits. And then there's people who work, who at times need some help so they don't fall through the cracks, and they go get the help and they're told they make too much money. And I know that from personal experience. My ex went to try and get some social assistance, food stamps, this and that, whatever. She was working. I'd pay my child support, giving her extra money over and above. Granted, she has a problem with not managing money and also living above her means, making bad deals on buying cars, etc. like that. However, anyway, at one time she told me she went and applied and was told, she made too much money, and with my child support, etc., she didn't qualify to receive assistance. I think eventually, because she changed jobs or something where her income wasn't as much, she did get some food stamps or something for a while. But I can remember her being as pissed as she was and everything, and at the same time, you see all these people coming in the country, never paid a dime for anything, mooching off the system. So you've got to look at those things, and you can't just shrug them. There's people out there, these social, we care about everybody, and everybody deserves everything types people who blow off any concerns anyone has about, hey, I'm busting my ass for a living and everything. You're taking my money that I can use for my family, and you're giving it to these deadbeats. It is a valid, argument. And there has to be some discussion on, well, wait a minute. I can understand being charitable and kind towards my fellow human beings, but I can also say, quit taking every dollar I make and giving it away to people. But you're taking it by force. It's the same thing with abortion, all this, and everything else that the government uses our tax dollars for that we don't want any part of. And I think for myself, I've thought several times, you know what? I'm just going to write a letter to the Speaker of the House, to Congress, to the President, somebody. I'm just going to put in there, I am not responsible for what you do with my tax dollars before God Almighty. If you use it to give people abortions, transgender operations, unjust wars, whatever it is, you're responsible. I do not support any of the unjust things you do and use our money for, etc., and sign it and stuff. Still pay my taxes. I'm behind right now. But I'm thinking that'd be a good idea for everybody. Write Congress a letter and tell them they're going to face the music for what they do with your tax dollars, and you're not going to take responsibility for what they use it for. I think that's a good idea. Anyhow, so we do need to have some care and kindness towards our fellow human beings. But by the same token, you've got to, there's a point where you got to say, well, wait a minute. You have the responsibility for yourself also. If you're a capable human being and you're not a victim. I forget, it was the good, in the story of the Good Samaritan, was the poor man outside the rich man's house, was he robbed or something, or assaulted? Am I remembering that right? And then the rich man walked past him and wouldn't help, or was he just somebody who was poor and who was sick, and the rich man walked by and wouldn't help, but then the Samaritan did? But anyway, can definitely see helping somebody who's had something happen to them like that, unjustly and stuff. But on the other hand, you can look at the story. Was it the ant and the grasshopper? One prepared for winter, and the other one the ant kept storing up food for winter, and the grasshopper went around and kept playing and living life, like it was a joke, all this, not planning for anything. And then winter came, and the grasshopper was left out in the cold, freezing his ass off to die, and the ant had enough to get through. So it's a good story. I think it ought to be taught to children more in school. Hey, life is hard. Even with all our technology and everything like that, bad things, unexpected things can still happen. And, you know, insurance and this and that and everything isn't always going to cover things. And, you know, you got to go back to like tribal stuff. What's that? Little feathers, you're not going to go on the hunt today? Well, guess what? You don't eat. So there has to be people within the agencies who handle these types of things and dispersing funds who are well educated and active and proactive in who they're giving money to and why. And you know, there has to be some kind of line between people mooching off the system and people who actually just need some help. And because, you know, look at all these welfare mothers. I'm not putting all the blame on women, but, you know, because some women, you know, they don't, where they're at or whatever, they're getting the age where they're going to marry or go on with their lives, whatever, need somebody to help take care of them. They, you know, they can't make it on their own, so you need a partner. They hook up with somebody and you know, think, hey, this is going to be the guy, we're going to have a life together, this and that. He says the same stuff and everything. She gets pregnant and he up and leaves, and she's the more or less the victim in that case. She's left there with a child and trying to fend for herself and stuff, and so she has to go on social assistance. So we need to start putting an end to that, making young men aware that you're going to be held responsible. You're going to take care of that kid. And we need to make young women aware, look here, you better make sure the guy that you're falling into bed with is going to be there, because condoms don't always work and birth control doesn't always work. And, you know, society, there's nothing on any of our birth certificates or anything that say, hey, I'm responsible for the irresponsible actions of other people. That we all have to pick up the slack of these slackers, these deadbeats. You know, sometimes it takes something to wake people up. So they're living devil may care life. Hey, they're floating on the breeze. They're not taking a job serious or a career. They're getting high. It's all about going and partying every weekend. You know, they're going to meet this girl or that girl or whatever. Hey, they're having a good time. And then they end up in a situation where reality sets in. They didn't save any money, this and that. They quit their job or they got fired because they had this FU attitude, this and that. And that now they want to go and get social assistance and all this and everything. Society pick up the slack for the bad choices they made. And then that becomes a habit. Maybe there should be, you know, a deal like, okay, somebody takes a look at how they got into their situation, this and that, before they hand them the money. And then if they do help them out, even if they screwed up, if we do help them out as a society, it's made clear. And look here, the lifestyle you're living, doing this and doing X, Y, Z, and not taking responsibility for yourself, put you in a situation of almost being homeless and all this and everything. But we're gonna give you some assistance to pay your rent and food and this and that for such a period of time. At the end of that period of time, you better be on your feet. And you better not go back to living the way you were. You better take care of yourself, because there's not going to be a second time. You know, you're not going to go out and gamble your paycheck away or do drugs with your paycheck and end up in bad situations and then expect society to bail you out. And there need to be people going out to all these homeless encampments and finding people who want to get on their feet, who want out of there, who can contribute to society. You know, you see all these Democrats flapping their gums about how much they care about everybody, this and that. And look at their cities. They're full of these homeless encampments. They're not going out there seeing what those people need. They're not, and I guarantee you, a lot of them are drug addicts. They're addicted to heroin and other things and stuff. They don't even care about getting help. They're little mini Chazes, or whatever they call that crap up in Seattle. So there's a lot of things. Social Security, like right now, if you die before you ever collect it, who gets that money you paid into it? Should be able to transfer that to your descendants, shouldn't you? I think. But I think they use that money for other things, and then they use it also for to pay more in benefits than what people actually paid in, because I think that's the whole system is pretty much based on that X amount of people will pay into it and X amount of them will die before they ever collect, so we'll be able to pay these people more, etc., etc. And I don't know if that money's invested anyway or anything to try and or if it's put in an account that interest is paid on it, and that's a lot of the extras used money comes from. But we need to make it more of a look, you're going to get what you paid into to it, and figure out an equitable scale for that, and make people understand that's a supplement. That's not what you should base your whole old age on. You know, so that's what I say. You know, if we go to a system where the banks will have, you'll be able to pick your vendor, your insurance, whatever but you'll have an account, whether you switch banks, jobs, whatever. You're gonna have this account. You're gonna have your savings, and if you're a small business, you'll have your business accounts there too. And the money will come in, and a certain portion will go to your medical costs for life. Maybe educational costs up to a certain point. Like I said, if we're not going to tax people to the age of 24, maybe during that time they do pay into an educational thing or something. But, you know, so much towards your burial, retirement. And these are not going to be like you can have separate investment accounts, but there's just going to be a small percentage that's put aside and it'll be like a savings account, whatever. And maybe they gain minimal interest, but you gotta think the way the banks operate and everything, how they loan money out based on the money they have in funds, etc., a certain proportion, although they've gotten rid of most of those laws, which got us into a lot of financial trouble. Maybe these accounts should be off the table for that, for banks to be able to count as holdings to what they loan money on. So, you know, I think that would go a long way to people want a life of no muss, no fuss. You know, okay, so here comes your paycheck. It's direct deposit. We can do away with cash. A lot of cash would do away with a lot of robberies and stuff, whether it's people holding up convenience stores or doing ATM robberies, this and that. Be cashless society. Your direct deposit, your credits from your employer or from, you know, people you're doing business with, go into your account. Small portions are broken off and put into certain set accounts, and they're there for when you have to use them. They're supplementals. They're not meant to cover all the costs. And maybe we can come up with a partial national health care system for, like I said, till the age of 18, till the age of 24, something like that. Then you better have something worked out. maybe something for elderly, certain things, certain basic things. Maybe we can just have like certain wellness things, checkups, this and that. But catastrophic stuff, you're going to have to find insurance companies and etc. like this, because I think that's one of the biggest things it comes down to is like, well, should we incur this huge debt and pay for like I say, operations for people who are 80 or 90 years old? Does society want to make that call? So I think the way to avoid that is, look here, this is what basic health care is going to cover in the country. And if you want to be able to, when you're 80 or 90 years old, get yourself 6 more months of life, then you better buy health insurance on the side that will cover that. Everything has to be, from the get-go. Here's the rules. Here's the game plan. We'll have, certain things that a national health care plan will pay for and certain things they won't. And so if you want coverage, you want, certain things paid for. And it's like, it's not going to pay. We're not going to have one that pays for abortion and transgender and all this kind of crap. Breast implants, all this stuff, unless, it's someone's had breast cancer and had a breast removed, something like that I can understand. But we're not gonna pay for all these augmentations, facelifts and things like this and everything. This is gonna be basic wellness stuff. You get the flu and pneumonia, you got to go in the hospital, something like that. You get certain types of cancer, or look, dental and vision, certain things. We're going to pay basic stuff, national health care, certain drugs, okay. But all this extra stuff and everything, you're going to have to find insurance policies that will okay, if you're worried about that when you get old and gray, being able to take care of things like that, then you're gonna have to do that on your own. And like with things, maybe we can have things with like cancer. I don't think there's anything you can actually do to give yourself cancer except for like smoking or something. I don't know, maybe liver cancer and stuff's caused by drinking. But in general, I think a lot of cancers are just unexpected things. I don't know where they come from or whatever. Maybe we can just have a national cancer coverage policy for unexpected things like that, and because that's quite expensive treatment and stuff. So, we'd have to get together with doctors and hospital people, insurance people, and these are the types of things need to be ironed out. But just throwing a blanket thing out there, all right, everybody's getting free, because it's not free. And why should somebody who's busting his ass trying to keep a family together, raising a kid or two and everything, have their premiums go sky high to cover somebody who doesn't give a damn about anything, isn't contributing in taxes or anything, or to their own health insurance, etc., whatever? Why? Why should my life or anybody else's life be made harder for somebody who hasn't given a damn about anything at all? Hasn't shown any care for planning for, hey, might have an emergency of some type. I better have an emergency fund. I'm going to need to retire someday. I better put money. No, I'm just going to go out to the bar every night of the week. That's all. I'm just going to go to the bar every night of the week, not give a damn about nothing, whatever. And then when something happens, I'm going to bitch like crazy about how wrong society is. I'm going to go out and have multiple sexual partners all the time. I'm going to go use prostitutes, this and that. It was like back in AIDS. When AIDS, there were still people out here on the road. Drivers who used prostitutes and stuff out here on the road. You tell them, hey, man, you're crazy. You're going to catch something off of. just stupid for them to do it, and they'd still do it. So, I think people are more scared of this COVID. I'm seeing more fear now with this COVID crap than I remember seeing with AIDS. People were still running around being promiscuous and doing stupid shit during it when the AIDS virus was everywhere. People are alarmed about that. And the thing about this, I wonder how many people out there, you get the slightest little bit of congestion or cough or sneezing and stuff, and all of a sudden you're thinking, oh man, I got this shit, I'm going to die. With how they've presented it in the news and everything like that. I mean, just absolutely, I think you're scaring a lot of people into shock when they do get a little bit sick. And I want to see the data on what types of people are dying. Are they drug users? Are they heroin users? How many of them are actually really old and have other ailments? Will they be dying soon of those other ailments anyway? They're not giving us enough data, complete data, to look at this in a rational way. Without the information, nobody can make rational decisions. You need the information. Are a large number of these people dying? Are they immune deficient? Are they HIV? Are they drug users? Are they promiscuous people? Are they running around, not taking any precautions for anything? How many people have died from the regular flu since this all started? Because people die from the regular flu every single year. If you can call anything a regular flu, I think it's kind of transformed each year. But, are those numbers getting mixed in with the numbers for this COVID crap? I can remember at the beginning of somebody asked, aren't you being alarmist? Aren't you making people afraid and this? And some of the people said, oh, there's nothing wrong with making them afraid as long as it'll make them listen. As long as it'll make them take precautions. You can scare the hell out of them. And I don't necessarily agree with that. I think you might be hurting people. Some people have anxieties and paranoias and this and that, and they usually get a little bit sick. And all of a sudden now they're going to go in a state of shock thinking they're dying. Don't see anybody telling anybody what to do. Hey, if you start feeling, go get tested. Well, what about before you can get somewhere and get tested? What should somebody do? Or before they pick up the phone and dial 911 or go check themselves into a hospital just because they feel sick? Can they take some Tylenol, cold and flu? What about to bolster their immune systems? Dr. Oz said things about eating spinach. There's things about zinc, vitamin D. Let's get all the factual information out there. Does that malaria drug work? Russia says they now have a vaccine. Do we all really need a vaccine? Has this all been blown out of proportion that, hey, without a vaccine, you're as good as dead? Does and can and does our body's immune system fight this stuff off? So, lots of things, but lots of ideas for, it's 2020. We need to get politicians and people who will work in government instead of flapping their gums and trying to one-up each other, spending so much face time in front of the camera, who write reasonable bills without adding a whole bunch of junk that, can we just focus on one thing at a time? Here's what, and they all say, oh, you'll get more things done that way, productive things. Instead of these great big bills with all kinds of crap added into them. Let's meat and potatoes here for a while. All right. Wish you all the best out there. God bless and good luck, and we'll catch you on the next one. Adios.